Okay, so this is the video for the lesson. You need to be able to multiply and divide by tens accurately. There are a number of different methods. I don't really mind which method you use as long as you are accurate. I'm going to suggest a method and maybe you'll like it and then you're welcome to use it. But obviously if you have something that works successfully, you don't need to worry. So first example here, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to watch the video completely and then go back and write the notes and pause it, right? So that you can write the notes. So these are notes, but please watch the video before you write the notes. So 3.89 times 100. Now to me, the easiest way of doing this is that is 3. You know what 3 times 100 is. 3 times 100 is 300. So if you put this in the hundreds column, right, then the rest of the number is going to be next to it, and that's your answer. So when you have something in the units column, that's the units. You know if you times by 100, 3 times 100 is 300. If it was 1,000, it would be 3,000. You just put it in the thousands position. There are many methods. You could also move the decimal place. You could say, okay, if I times it by 10, that will be 38.9. If I times it by 100, that will be 389. So you can do it in steps, right? Or you could just say, well, I'll move my decimal place, my decimal point 2 places. And remember, you're making it bigger. Your timesing by 100 is definitely getting bigger. Again, I would suggest you just look at this one. You know what 1 times 1,000 is. It's 1,000. So you know that the 1 goes in the thousands position. Then we have hundreds, tens, units. And then over here, this is tens of thousands. So if the 1 goes in the thousands position, then obviously you fill them in. And that is now your answer. Okay. Again, you could do it in steps. You could say this is 412 if you times it by 10. If you times it by 100, it will be 4,120. And if you times it by 1,000, so you can do it in steps. That also works extremely well. There's no excuse to get this wrong because you can do it in steps. Next one. Again, this is in the units column. It's a 3. 3 times 1,000 is 3,000. So thousands, and you put the 3s there. Then hundreds, tens, units, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, right? So I'm going to put the 3 is there. The 0 is going to go there. The 6 is going to go there. So this is actually millions. And the 5 is going to go there. The fact that it's negative, and obviously you fill up the numbers to units. The fact that it is negative changes nothing. Same method, except the answer is negative. A negative times a positive is a negative. We are going to go through integers thoroughly. So if you're not too sure about that, it doesn't matter. But the method is the same. You're expecting a very, very big, very negative number. Then 0.318 times by 100. Now that's more confusing. This time our units is there. We don't have anything there. So this method is not going to work well for this. And I'd suggest you just move it one position. So if you times it by 10, it's going to be 10 times bigger, which will be 3.18. And if you times it by 100, it is now going to be 100 times bigger, another 10 times bigger. So there's the answer. And you can just do it in steps. 10 times bigger, 10 times bigger after that. Next example here, something tiny. And again, I think we just do this one at a time. So if you're going to make it 10 times bigger and you want to be sure you're going to get it right, everything is going to move across one place. That's the first 10. Then we want to make it 10 times bigger again. Everything is going to move across like that. Now it's 100 times bigger. Then we're going to make it 10 times bigger again. Everything is going to move across like that. And lastly, one more time. And everything is going to move across like that. Okay. What you've actually done is you have moved across the decimal place the same way that you did every other time. There are 4 digits there, and it will have moved 1, 2, 3, 4 to there, right? But it's safer just to go one at a time. Same thing for this one. Times by 10, we're going to have 3.481 times by 100, we're going to have 34.81. One step at a time. Okay, here's division. Now, division is a bit more difficult. Please note, this is 69 divided by 10. And that might actually help you to see what you're doing better. But basically, if it's division, you're taking 69 sweets, for example, dividing them amongst 10 people. It's going to be getting smaller. So if your number doesn't get smaller, there's something wrong. So it's not a matter of remembering which way to put the decimal place. It's getting smaller. You're dividing it amongst 10 people. It's getting smaller, so 6.9. For this one over here, it might be easier to do it in steps. So first of all, if you divide it by 10, you'll have 70.8. If you divide it by another 10, you'll have 7.08. Make sure you don't change the number. And if you divide it by the last 10, you'll have 0.0708. So, oh no, I've actually got an extra one there. Sorry. You'll have 0.708. Okay. So you're just shifting it along one at a time until you have divided by all three tens. This one over here, same thing. This is going to be now if you're dividing by 100, it's going to get smaller. So 0.036 is dividing by 10, and then 0.0036 is dividing by 100, right? It's getting smaller. You're taking what you can imagine is 36 cents, spreading it out between 100 people. They all basically get virtually nothing. Same thing for this one. You're dividing by 100, it's getting smaller. If you divide by 10, you'll have 38.12, right? If you divide by another 10, you'll have 3.812. So that's 2 tens. And the last 10 is this one over here. So we'll have 0.3812. And that's our answer. So I'd suggest you just go piece by piece. Now, looking at these two harder ones, you might want to pause the video and see if you can sort it out for yourself. Otherwise, I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to say this is the same as 780 divided by 0.1. Now, if I wrote it like that, you would hopefully realize that it would be a good idea to multiply both the top and the bottom by 10 so that you don't have any decimal fractions. And that is your answer. Nice and simple, right? So you are dividing 0.1, which is a tiny thing, into something big. And so now we are actually getting a bigger answer. It's because you're saying something like, how many 10 cents fit into $780? So we'd expect many of them to. So you do need to actually pause and think. Same thing for this one. Instead of getting yourself highly confused, you can write it like this and just make it into equivalent fraction. So if I times the bottom by 1,000, if I times it by 10, the 1 will be here. If I times it by another 10, the 1 will be there. And if I times it by a third 10, the 1 will be there. So if I times it by 1,000, then that's 1. And if I times the top by 1,000, well, 7 times 1,000 is 7,000. So there it is. And your answer is 7,890. I hope this is useful. Your homework is one of the following two things. Either you are going to do, in fact, I think you could all, I don't know. I'll put the order up. But you're either going to do exercise 9 and do some of that or all of that. And then also exercise 8, which is a hard exercise. Or you are just going to do exercise 9. For exercise 8, I'm going to continue with one more example. If you're not going to do the hard ones, I think you should probably watch the example anyway, but then you don't have to actually do it. It says for each of the following, you're going to divide using any method that you want and write it as a quotient and a remainder, a fraction in mixed number format, and round it to the first decimal place. So, for example, if I give you 368 divided by 5, and we're going to do this in 3 different ways, right? So this is what I'm asking you to do for exercise 8. The first way is with a remainder. 5 goes into 36 7 times, which is 35. And then I've got 5 goes into 18 3 times, which is 15. And there's your answer. So it says, first of all, quotient and a remainder. So the quotient is 73, the remainder is 3. So quotient just means answer, and we know what a remainder is. It's the leftover piece. Then it says write it as a fraction in mixed number format. So what you can think of is you had 368 over 5. It went in 73 times. The remainder was 3, and so that's what I mean by as a fraction in mixed number format. Last question is to round it to the first decimal place. So basically all I'm going to do is now I'm going to go back here and I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to say, okay, into my 30, 5 goes 6 times, and so that's going to be 30, and I'm done. If it was a longer question, then I would have to keep going until I had the second decimal place and hopefully round off. But basically, you keep going until you now have it in the decimal format. So if you're doing the hard group of homework, please do exercise 8 as well, and I will put the homework up.